Hi there. I'm Other Miguel Magusto. Welcome to our podcast. The following podcast contains spoilers for Coraline. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio.
Ooh.
This is your host, Other Glen, along with your host, Miguel, other Miguel Magusto. I almost slipped. You almost would have slit my neck or something like that.
Yeah.
Would have done something crazy.
Can't you see we just want to love you?
Forever and always.
Forever and always. How you doing, Glenn? It's been a while.
I don't know, my eyes hurt from all that right there.
Yeah?
I wasn't a fan.
You weren't a fan?
I don't like being evil. I like being an asshole. I just don't like being evil. There's a difference.
Understand
There's a fine line.
There is a fine line.
I'm doing good. There's something that I acquired in my life that
Yeah?
I am one of those people who hate people who celebrate things early. Especially since we're in the month of September, as we're speaking right now, doing Spooktoberfest.
Yeah.
But I got this little device because it was nice. I liked it, and I'm a big fan of it.
I can't see what it is.
You can't see it, but you'll be aroused when you see it when you edit. Oh my god! I got this little shindig.
Wow,
And I was like, I love
it's so big and throbbing.
It actually is. Maybe not the throbbing part. Maybe if I shake it a little, it might throb.
Oh.
But I got a little headless horseman statue that. What's that? It also shines. A little pumpkin. It so I'm gonna put it back here. I'm a little upset that it's all gold.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Let me put it in a nice little special spot here. Yeah, that'll work. Maybe you guys can see it. You can barely see it. It's like a little. I don't even know what direction I'm pointing. Congratulations. Other than that, I'm pretty swell. As you know, Mike, I am a slut for fall. And those sweaters, I bought some sweaters, and I am, what can I tell you other than the slut is coming out.
Oh.
Right out of there. It's like a little horror movie. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
But I didn't go crazy for the little break that we had. I only watched a few, less than a handful. But a handful's enough if you ask certain amounts of people. Yeah. And I'll get into that. I'm going to tell you. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Because most of them I saw with you. To kick it off, we did see The Nun 2 together. I'm pretty sure, am I correct in saying that was after we took a break?
Yeah, it was definitely after.
Yeah.
It was after.
So to kick off Spooktober, I'm just starting off with telling you about a movie that I can't tell you about because the review is up on the YouTube. Go check that out if you want. Maybe we had some things to say about it. I watched the first one and didn't even know it. We talked about that a little bit. So we saw that together. It's up on the YouTube. Then I went into a comedy special. This guy had been around for a while, and he's been genuinely really funny. So finally, I'm watching one of his stand-up specials. That just came out on Netflix, and that is Shane Gillis with his special Beautiful Dogs. I think he's kind of a breath of fresh air as far as comedy goes, because as far as it goes, obviously, you know, he's a lot of things have, not him specifically, but a lot of things have been like cancel culture, and like you say one wrong joke and like everybody gets spaghetti about it. Mm-hmm. Italians are probably picketing me right now as soon as I said that. Did you upset these spaghetti? No. You had to. Bye-bye, audience that we had overseas. But his comedy is refreshing for like somebody like me, because it sounds like, as far as like his jokes go, it's like just one of the guys just joking around. Like, you know, that he's joking. and it's fine. It's not cancelable in your little group. So his type of comedy is funny because it's just something you would hear in like a Discord call or something like that. So like that was genuinely, it was really fucking funny. And just like, it's like taking soft jabs at Republicans, but he's like, yeah, I'm probably going to end up being one, but also fuck those guys, you know?
Yeah.
It's just really funny. So I recommended that to a bunch of my friends. I would recommend that to you if you really wanted to. Maybe one day down the line.
He seems a little too bro-y for me.
Yeah.
Like I have no problem with the guy. I mean, he's from Philly, so he automatically gets points in my book for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like my cup of tea, but who knows?
He's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
But you know, for somebody like me, he was really great. After that, we watched A Haunting in Venice together, which that is also up on the YouTube. Congratulations, go check that out.
Yes.
And then last, I watched Coraline, which we shall get into in moments. But Mike,
Yes,
gotta tell me what you got into there, brother.
I got a lot. I'm gonna try to go through them as fast as possible.
Understandable.
I have 19 in the 20 days we haven't since we last recorded, so there's that. First one being Polite Society, a little indie movie that went to Sundance this year about this. I believe she's a British girl of Indian heritage, either that or Pakistani heritage. But either way, her sister is she wants to be a stunt woman, and her sister is kind of giving up her dream of being an artist in order to be part of an arranged marriage. And so it's just kind of her trying to save her sister from that, but done in like a heist style, like a Ocean's 11 kind of thing. It's really entertaining. I highly suggest people check that out.
We did have it for a little bit. I did want to check it out, but never got around to it.
Polite Society. I highly suggest people check that out. Then I saw The Equalizer 3. That was a week that you just wanted a break. You wanted to do nothing.
I just wanted to be a potato.
Yeah, so I saw The Equalizer 3. Pretty good as far as, the Equalizer trilogy goes. I don't think anything will top the first one, but this one was solid. Denzel Washington is great as usual. The Equalizer movies are like the John Wick movies. I want there to be some suspense, but the Equalizer movies, I just want him to kick everyone's ass no matter what, with no inconvenience or anything. Just because like in John Wick, they're all gangsters being like trying to kill John Wick. In the Equalizer, they're like terrorizing small communities, so they're like really bad people. And you're just like, just fuck them up. I don't even care about suspense. Just kill them.
Just get it over with, man.
It's a really really good movie. If you like an action movie like that, I highly suggest it. Then that same night I watched the indie movie called Bottoms, which is these two they're either bisexual or lesbian students in a high school who start a fight club in order to get laid.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's really funny. And Marshawn Lynch, football player, running back, Marshawn Lynch is in it. He's hilarious. It's a really funny movie. I highly suggest people check it out. Then I watched my own movie, Eugene vs. Humanity, which is available on our YouTube channel if you want to check that out. I just watch it to give us the view, if I'm completely honest. I've seen it so many times, I don't need to rewatch it.
Editing it for you, and then just me casually watching it. Combined is more than anybody needs to watch it, but you should watch it anyway.
You should watch it. Then I watched a movie in my Ingmar Bergman collection, Persona. I was really excited to watch this one, and I did really like it, but because of the hype people and myself gave it, I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. Still a solid film, but I had unrealistic expectations. I acknowledge that. Maybe years from now I'll rewatch it and appreciate it more. But
at least you admit it.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. You hype this movie up in your head for so long, and then you see it, and nothing could ever get to that. Then I rewatched a movie called Be Kind, Rewind with, I believe his name now is Yasin Bey. At the time, he was known as Mos Def. And Jack Black, where they are running Danny Glover's video rental shop while he's away and accidentally erase all the movies. So they start making their own versions of those movies. And it's one of the movies that, I really liked as a kid because it reminded me of me and my friends making movies.
I was going to say, you had definitely seen that before, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, it was a rewatch.
Yeah.
It was a rewatch. I watched it 3 times in theaters when it came out. So,
Oh, damn.
highly suggest people check that out. Then we watched The Nun 2. Oh, no, sorry. I watched The Nun in preparation for The Nun 2.
Yeah.
And I know you did as well. I don't know if you said that, but
I kind of did.
yeah. Really bad, but some hilarious things that are not meant to be hilarious.
Some pretty decent visuals, but other than that, yes, very much.
Visuals wise, it's very, very good. The story is campy. Things that happen in it are super funny. That aren't supposed to be funny, but they just are.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that. Then I saw a British movie called Kess, which is about a boy who is learning how to train a falcon. And it's from the 1960s, so you can imagine that it has a super happy ending and nothing at all bad happens to the falcon.
Yeah, of course.
So it's kind of like Old Yeller, but with falcons, if that's the best way I could describe it. It's a little different. It's not as, Disney-fied as Old Yeller is, but it's a similar, coming-of-age story. Then I watched The Nun 2. Got a review for that up on the YouTube, so you can check that out. Then I watched a movie called The Apartment. This is another one that was like really hyped up for me, and it just wasn't as good as I wasn't hyped up for it, but other people were like, "Oh, it's so good."
Yeah,
and it's just like it's fine. It's a good movie. But
what was The Apartment?
The Apartment is from 1960. It's about this guy who lends his bosses his apartment to have affairs in, which is pretty risque for a 1960s film.
Yeah.
And
like it definitely happened, but on film, no, it didn't. It did not.
1960. I think that was still the Hays Code. And so it's like a comedy about that happening and all that. But also has some darker elements to it, which I did appreciate that. It just didn't live up to the hype. Again, not the film's fault. Just everyone who told me that it was one of the greatest movies ever made.
Don't you love it?
Yeah, I do. I do love it. Then, continuing my Ingmar Bergman collection, watched a movie called Thirst. I got to reread what this is because I've seen so many that I kind of forget what this is about. Okay. Travel back to Stockholm. Okay, yeah, I remember this. It's all right. It's fine. It's a romantic film kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not really your cup of
yeah, but it's like Ingmar Bergman's. I was talking to our friend John Clark today about Ingmar Bergman and how he was like era-appropriate misogynist, and by appropriate I mean like no more misogynist than the rest of society at the time.
Yeah.
But also ridiculously feminist for the time. Like he contradicts himself.
Yeah,
because he's like has the husbands like abusing the wives and everything, but then they have discussions, not necessarily in this movie, but he has discussions of like the right to an abortion and all that. So like the right to choose. So it's all over the place. Yeah, with the feminism. And I noticed that because I've been watching so many Ingmar Bergman movies this year. But yeah, The Thirst it's fine.
Ooh.
It's as good as a romance movie can be. And you can't even really call it romantic. They spend most of the time fighting. But yeah. I digress. Then I watched a movie called Port of Call. I have to remind myself what this one is, too. They all kind of start blending together at this point.
Well, especially when you watched almost 20 in 20 days.
Yeah. So this one was about this girl who was like depressed because her mother was like overbearing and somewhat emotionally abusive. Yeah, and she meets a guy, and it's another romance. So again,
not the cup of tea.
I like this one more than Thirst, but yeah, there's that. Then I watched the documentary about Eagles center Jason Kelce called Kelce. I really like this documentary.
Damn, you watched that already?
Yeah, I watched it the first day it was out.
Didn't that just come out?
Yeah, I watched it while my boy was napping.
He's a fan!
What?
He's a real fan!
Go Birds. No, but yeah, I can't promise people who aren't fans of the Eagles will like it as much as I did, but regardless, it's a very well-made movie, especially like examining a athlete at the end of his career and everything. So highly suggest people check that out.
Is he like officially? Is he officially retiring, or is he still?
No, they were making it because he was thinking about retiring after last year, but then decided not to. So they kind of just changed it after he decided not to retire to just be about like it's not about him retiring, but it's about like him
the
at the
approach
point
to
where
the end of his career.
Where like he has to decide if family is more important than football. And he's still, I'm sure if you ask him, family's still more important than football.
I mean,
but he's not at the point in football where it's going to really affect his family too much.
I think he was definitely planning on retiring once if they won this last Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. I think if he was going to go out on top, he was going to go out on top, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. So,
but his brother got it, so that's nice.
But that's my favorite part of it. Like, for those of you who don't know, my wife and I are expecting another child. It's going to be another boy.
Baby boys!
If both my boys have half the relationship that Travis and Jason Kelce have, they will be good. Because Travis and Jason Kelce have like the best brother rivalry relationship that you could possibly ask for, where like they love each other, but they are competitive with each other, and it never is like Jason was never just like, oh man, I wish he didn't win. Like he was happy for him, but also like I wish I won. But you can be happy for your brother at the same time. So yeah, that's Kelce. Then I watched an Icelandic movie. From the director of Godland, I don't know if I mentioned that before.
I can't believe he said it out loud.
Called A White Day. This was a really cool movie. It's essentially about this old cop in Iceland whose wife died, and he finds out that she was having an affair, and so he kind of has like this mental breakdown and starts spiraling out of control and everything. Really cool movie. Same. Yeah, that's A White Day. Then I watched A Haunting in Venice. We have a review for that up on the YouTube. Then I watched another Ingmar Bergman movie called Cries and Whispers. Essentially just about this woman who's dying of cancer and her sister saying goodbye to her. Really depressing stuff.
Of course.
Yeah. So then I cheered up by watching my other movie called The Plea, which is a riot. Just kidding, it's not.
Yeah.
That is up on YouTube as well. Again, just watching it to give us a view. But I would appreciate if people check that out. I think
it's really good.
People will like it. I can't promise everyone will like it, but some people will definitely like it. My wife has said that it reminds her of the movies I like, which she means that it kind of feels artsy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I would call it artsy, but it's definitely my most abstract.
It's been the most artsy, I think, of them all so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But then I watched Grave of Fireflies, just, one happy movie after the other.
This one I've been curious about, and I do want to hear about it.
So for, anyone who listens to this podcast knows I'm not a huge fan of anime. It is 75% the animation style, not the art, the animation, the frame rate of it all. Because it's very jumpy, jittery. Again, talking to John Clark, the best way I can describe it is the opposite of like watching frame blending on a TV, where it looks soap opera-y. Yeah. And like it doesn't look natural. It's like the movement, while I know that no animated film is natural, the movement in anime is less natural than most animated films. Which it bothers me. And that's a 100% me problem. I admit that. I'm not looking for anime to change itself because obviously they got a huge fan base and I am just one person. So I couldn't care if it changes or not. But people need to understand that when I say I'm not a fan of anime, it's not the stories, it's the animation style.
Trust me, we've been trying.
Yeah. And I'm still trying. Like no one told me to watch this. I just watched it on my own. This is by far my favorite anime that I've seen. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Would have given it 5 out of 5 if it weren't for the animation style. But yeah, it's a very happy film.
Very happy.
For those of you who have seen it, I'm just joshing. But yeah, The Grave of Fireflies. And then I watched Coraline, which we're going to get into right now.
You probably think this world is a dream come true. But you're wrong.
You do like it here, don't you, Coraline? You could stay here forever. There's one tiny little thing we need to do. Black is traditional.
She's got this whole world where everything's better, but it's all a trap.
You may come out when you've learned to be a loving daughter.
From Henry Selick, the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas, comes a world of extraordinary imagination. Spooky secrets.
Who are you?
You're in terrible danger, girl.
And daring discoveries.
I still have to find my parents. to set them free.
This year, when adventure comes knocking,
Choo-choo.
there are some doors that should never be opened. Coraline, written for the screen and directed by Henry Selick.
An adventurous 11-year-old girl finds another world that is a strangely idealized version of her frustrating home, but it has sinister secrets. Ooh. Directed by Henry Selick, written by Henry Selick, based on the novel by Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman.
Starring Dakota Fanning, Terry Hatcher, John Hodgman, Jennifer Saunders, Dawn French, Keith David, Robert Bailey Jr., and Ian McShane, and others that are just small little bit parts. So I've been wanting to rewatch this for a while. This has been kind of having a resurgence on TikTok. A lot of people dissecting it, saying it's more terrifying than it seems. It's always been terrifying, so I don't know why they're saying more terrifying.
I don't know.
Terrifying for an animated kids movie. That is not like, it's not, I'm not saying it's like Hellraiser or something, or The Shining or anything like that.
Well, no.
But yeah, I haven't seen it since it was in theaters, and I wanted to rewatch it. And I am glad I did, because it's holds up still, in my opinion.
It is a hell of a way to kick off the Spooktober.
It is, you know, a nice easing into it, because it's not terribly terrifying, because it's a kids movie.
It is PG, yes.
It is PG, but it's still, it's got that, I don't want to say Tim Burton feel, because Henry Selick, as we all know, directed A Nightmare Before Christmas. So,
well, most people don't know that.
Well, yeah, they should. Henry Selick directed A Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton just came up with the story and produced it. That's not to say that Tim Burton didn't contribute at all to it, but a lot of the things that people love about it.
Give the man his roses.
Yes, give him his roses. He also did James and the Giant Peach, and others that I'm blanking on the moment. But yeah, I really wanted to rewatch this. I've been wanting to rewatch it for a very long time, and I had a good time watching it again. I think the only thing for me now is that the character of Coraline annoys me now. She didn't back then. Only in the beginning. She gets better, but like in the beginning, she's like real sassy for no reason at all.
I could definitely understand as a parent for sure now why she would.
Well, I mean, she's just mean to everyone, and you're not showing any reason.
Even to YB.
Yeah, like his name's Wyborn, and you're just like saying, "Why are you born?"
Why are you born?
That's mean, Coraline. It's not very nice. But I mean, like, I think that was done on purpose. I don't think you're supposed to necessarily like love her character at first.
Yeah.
But it is I love the artistry in it. I love stop motion animation's my favorite kind of animation. And it's a art style that keeps on giving. You see details you didn't see before pretty much every time you watch it, which is why it's big on TikTok right now, because people are pointing out all those details.
Oh, it's so weird that Dakota Fanning's younger than me.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. My whole life, I thought she was older. I'm getting old as shit, man. I can't stop it. Yeah, I actually watched this for the first time fully. I'll state. Younger life, I had a very terrible sitting through things. I couldn't sit through things. I was just like, this is great. And then I dipped out. Mostly to go play video games or something in the other room. So I've seen multiple little clips of this, little sit downs, but I've never watched the full thing. At your house sitting, the good old peanut butter. I sat with her and I loved her dearly, and I made sure we both watched this scary little movie during the nice summer heat. And God, it was terrific. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. And then watching it, I didn't even... is it Gaiman or is it Gaiman? I always thought it was Gaiman.
I've heard Gaiman from people who have like interviewed him. I haven't heard him specifically say it, so I'm not 100% sure. But I believe it's Gaiman.
But I had never known it was a book that he wrote, that like it was adapted from a book that he wrote. Obviously, his book's probably way darker. A lot of his books are pretty dark in comparison.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if
But
it
now,
wasn't.
actually looking at the book cover, I have seen this book a shit ton of times because it's so abstract looking, and it always haunted me. But yeah, knowing that it was one of like adapted from his, I always wanted to read the book, but I never got around to it in the last 2 years, obviously. So I can't sit here and compare, which is a good thing because we get to actually talk about the movie now.
Yeah.
It is a terrific movie. I wasn't always the biggest fan of like stop animation or stop motion animation.
Oh, my boy.
It's
Forgive him, for he knows not what he does.
It's not like there was always respect there, but it was never my cup of tea. Like you were saying about how you and your animated movies.
No, yeah, I got
it's
that.
it's the same. Well, yeah, explain to other people because they're gonna be pissed at me for saying some shit
My
like that.
apologies.
It was never my cup of tea, but I grew a lot of respect for it, especially watching, like Kubo and the Two Strings and then rewatching other stuff. Obviously, everybody loves, Nightmare. I almost said Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare Before Christmas. Obviously, you gotta love that. But I grew a fondness, and this is like a top tier. This is like a top tier stop motion. It's up there as far as it goes for me. I don't know. Let's just get into it.
Yeah. So I was just looking. I want to get this since I have it pulled up already. This was nominated for Best Animated Feature of the Year. Didn't win because it was another year where the animated feature category was absolutely stacked. We have The Secret of the Kells, which is the same Cartoon Saloon, the same Irish company that does like Song of the Sea, Breadwinner, Wolf Walkers, and everything. So that's good. Princess and the Frog, a return to 2D animation for Disney. Fantastic Mr. Fox, a Wes Anderson stop motion animation. And then the winner, of course, was Up. I think everyone can agree that is probably one of the few times that Disney actually deserved to win.
Yeah.
Because Up is a fantastic film. So like it not winning doesn't really say much because that's just a stacked class in that category.
Just the first 15. Is IMDb working for you? It is just not working for me right now.
It's working for me.
It keeps sorry.
No, it's fine. This was released at like the height of the 3D resurgence. And it is very apparent. The DVD that I own is actually like you could watch it in 3D if you wanted to. But like the style that they shot it in, you could tell that it was shot for 3D because you have things like coming at you. And I think that is, I'm glad that they kind of stopped doing that because it's kind of distracting when you're not watching it in 3D. You're like, I mean, it's still cool shots and everything, but you're like, this is obviously meant to be 3D. But I think, if I remember correctly, because I did watch it in 3D, the depth of everything in this, like the tunnel that she crawls down and everything, the 3D really helped.
The tunnel part would be sick, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been really, really cool in 3D. So I'm not a huge fan of 3D, but I think stop motion animations are one of the rare exceptions where like 3D is actually really cool to watch it. It's but it still holds up as 2D, which I think is important.
Oh yeah, significantly.
Because there's a lot of 3D movies that don't hold up.
Big time. I'm glad
2D.
we're kind of out of the age where everything kind of had to be 3D.
Yeah. I had a professor. They're not technically professors; they're just teachers in my college. That I had a friendly argument with him where he was just like, "Oh, 3D is the future. Every movie's going to be released in 3D." And I was like, I was less than a year off of being a projectionist at that time, and I said that is not true. And he said, it's becoming easier to do. I was like, that doesn't mean people want to spend $5 more to go see 3D. That's what people don't seem to realize. And of course, I don't mean to brag, but I was correct. People don't want to pay $5 extra just to see it in 3D. It's rare that movies are even released in IMAX 3D anymore.
Yeah.
Which like IMAX was like the thing that was like, oh, it's always going to be 3D. But people hate 3D. They just do. Like, yes, it's more immersive for some people, but it really takes people out of it a lot.
I never minded it, but I would always rather see the 2D if like it was always kind of a time thing too. I'm like, oh well, I'd rather see this now.
I didn't mind I don't mind that there's like a 3D option, but what I hated is when they would have like one 2D showing and then the rest 3D showings. Because that's just shitty
now I
business.
definitely
business
mind.
in my
I
opinion.
don't want to see 3D anymore.
No, me neither. I like anytime it's an IMAX movie that I want to see in IMAX. I'm like, I hope it's not 3D. And usually it's not, which is cool.
Big sweat off the brow. You're like,
Yeah,
phew.
but I love the story of this. You know, of course, it's every kid at some point wishes that their life was different, and it shows you that better or you know, ideal isn't necessarily better because it's not real. With this, you know, she's fed, and of course, like the mom has like ulterior motives and everything. But it's I don't know. I think it's just a really cool story for kids to see. And I wish I was younger when I watched it.
Yeah, it's great for kids and adults because obviously you're getting the kid's point of view with Carol. Jesus, I made the mistake that every adult makes in this movie.
Yeah,
Coraline. It shows my age. This damn movie. It shows how a kid acts and how what they want is kind of like they always are pushing what they want constantly, and then it shows the parents' point of view and like, listen. If you ever hear a parent say to you, I just don't have the time for you, that hurts so much more when you're older. At first, you're like, oh, you're just being a dick, Dad. Now you're like, man, he was a dick. But also at the same time, now as an older person, I'm not a parent that I know of, dear God. As an older person, you're like, man, that would have drove me fucking nuts if that kid was up my ass like that.
Yeah.
But, as a parent, you kind of got to swallow that pill a little bit. Can't just bite back so hard.
I think the difficult thing, and I'm sure like a lot of people now that work from home and also look after kids can understand this, is that they were trying to work while also having to look after her. Where like I feel like it's different on the weekend when you have time, but like when you're trying to work, and this happened when my boy was a newborn. Like I would try to do work while Caitlin was napping, and he would wake up from his nap and like just start crying, and I would just get so frustrated. I'm like, and you kind of just have to like be like the newborn is different from a kid that can more or less take care of themselves. Banshee, yeah, but like it's still, you just kind of have to like realize that they're kids. They haven't learned the. I'm not talking about a newborn son because obviously a newborn's not going to know this. Kids are very selfish by nature because they haven't learned empathy yet, and you have to teach them empathy. But you need to teach them empathy by showing them empathy. That's how you teach it. That's what a lot of parents don't seem to get. And so I sympathize with the parents, and also to an extent Coraline. I think now maybe more so the parents.
Yeah.
Just
now you've breached that gap now. Now you're there.
Yeah, it's like how now I side with King Triton in The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, King Triton's 100% correct, girl. You are too young to be chasing after a man. But selling your legs to the sea witch, or your fins to your voice to the sea witch, whatever she sells. I haven't seen that movie. Yeah, no, I know. But it's it's a complicated thing, and I think a lot of both parents and kids need to take a step back and look at it from the other perspective. And that's kind of what, in a way, Coraline learns. Maybe not necessarily look at it from their perspective, but realize that even though she just moved from her home and her parents are extremely busy, that they're just trying their best.
Yeah.
And that these helicopter parents are just trying to kill you.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I think
they just want your eyes too.
Yeah, it's a great family dynamic in this, and I think the details that they do to show the difference between the real world and the other world are great. Starting from that picture of the boy with the ice cream in the ideal world, the other world is not fallen. Yeah, the painting, it's not fallen on the ground. In the real world, it is fallen on the ground. filled with so many cool details like that, and I think that's
There's
what
a
I
lot
like.
of great background details.
Yeah,
completely.
that's what I like most about stop motion animation is that there's just so many details that you might otherwise miss, and I understand why there's not more stop motion animation, and if there was as much stop motion animation as there was computer animation, it probably wouldn't be as enjoyable. But I really wish there was a little bit more stop motion animation.
Yeah, it's very, very hard work.
Yeah.
Like, I just would not have, if I decided to start my career path during this, I would probably quit almost immediately. I just do not have the patience. But I love seeing it. I love seeing the hard work. Especially a lot of these little trivias down here, the fun facts. They put some time into this sumbitch. Yeah. The time and commitment. There was a lot of set pieces, a lot of design choices, a lot of sweaters, a lot of all the stuff. They worked their ass off. It really shows just throughout the whole thing. My favorite little tidbit is the fact that it is Gaiman, by the way. I looked it up. So you were right again. That's
I'm
twice.
always
You
right.
beat a
That's
techer
not true.
and me.
Yeah. I don't even remember what teacher it was because I just shamed him so hard.
Yeah, how dare. One of the tidbits that I really like is that this is like Gaiman's it's like favorite film that has been adapted from any of his books. This is one of his close to his heart, shall I say? Not his words; they're just mine. So that's really cool to see, and I mean, it just really makes me want to read the book more, just see how much different they are, and to where they, although it's different, it's still like holds such a place in his little shelf, shall we say, that he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is the best one yet. And I'm curious what the other ones are like, if this one's the highest. Although I don't know why I just said that, because this is one of the best fucking stop motions that I've ever seen.
Well, there's Beowulf. Well, I don't know if Beowulf is based on his work, but Stardust, which Stardust is actually pretty good, but I don't know it compared to the John, the thing.
He did Beowulf?
Well, he wrote it. I don't know if he wrote the script or yeah, he wrote the screenplay, so that doesn't count. But Stardust is based on his novel. That's pretty good.
I read American Gods. I didn't watch that show yet.
Yeah, I hear it's good. I haven't seen it. Yeah, I want to know, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know enough of his stuff, but, that's high praise coming from the author.
That is.
Yeah.
Another little thing that I really... This is actually something I learned from TikTok before I actually even watched the movie, which is something I always hate saying so much. But on the cake, when Coraline first goes to the other world, on the cake, it says that, like, the welcome... It says welcome home on the cake, but the O has one loop on it. And that means, like, they're telling the truth. If an O has one loop, they're telling the truth about that thing. If the O has two loops, that means they're lying. So the welcome has one loop, and then home has two loops, saying that, welcome is true, but she's not actually home. And I thought that's such a huge little, like, detail that's so cool to look back on. Like, you're not gonna fucking see that ever, just on your first glance, unless you are some, like, a cursive professional. You're like, are they lying about this? There's so many random details in this movie that are so cool. But that one's by far my favorite. Just kind of sinking into your skin more, knowing right from the bat that they were planning this. I mean, obviously they were planning it the whole time, but, like, right from the get-go, like, it's in the details, it's in the background, it's in the workings of, I'm gonna get you, girl. I'm gonna get you good.
Well, I mean, the entire intro is obviously we don't know that it's her hands at first, but, like, the needle hands, you see the needle hands creating the Coraline doll, and then you find out later that the doll is what's kind of been spying on her in order to see what they should make their world, the other world, like, to trap her there. And then, of course, it's revealed that Other Mother is actually, like, this needle spider or whatever you want to call her.
Yeah, like an insect kind of type thing.
It was her that made the doll, but it's never outright said that she made the doll. You know, just you see the hands, and eventually it's brought up, and it doesn't treat its audience like idiots like a lot of Disney movies do.
Yeah.
Like it respects the intelligence of a child, regardless of, you know, the film being made for a child, which I feel like a lot of kids movies should do more, because there's so many kids movies that just spell things out for the kids that doesn't teach them critical thought at all. And this one does a lot. There's a lot of imagery and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just such a well crafted film from top to bottom. And another thing that is cool is that like the house that they're in feels proportional to what the house would be for like a little kid.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of live action movies, they're building sets and they don't really have ceilings, so like it feels much bigger than the house actually would. A lot of James Wan movies, I love James Wan, but a lot of his movies, like especially like Malignant, the outside of the house is tiny and then you go inside and it's huge.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. But in this, it feels appropriate for how big it is. And it just adds a level of immersion there for that. And that's really well crafted if they can create a scale set for these dolls, and then the outside is also scale. It's just,
yeah, I was gonna say,
so
even
cool.
The garden is such a cool little thing too.
Yeah.
Because in the other world, it's Coraline being like crafted up with all the flowers and all the crazy little plant life in the wild that they're creating, just to kind of lure her deeper in. And then like once it gets to the real world, it's kind of like just very drab. And then it's still that shape of what Coraline would look like, but it's very like just withered and looks like absolute shit, kind of more disheveled, like a kind of other mother. I assume that's what they were going for. I didn't really check on that or not, but it kind of very disheveled and more of how that world looks.
Yeah.
If it feels at all like we're kind of grasping for things to kind of talk about, it's kind of a movie that you really just kind of have to experience. It's
a lot of the things to talk about are the craftsmanship of it all.
Yeah.
And the story is just really cool. And obviously there's the vocal performances are fine, but they're nothing that you're going to like write home about.
I mean, speaking of which, I didn't even know that was Ian McShane when I first watched it.
Oh yeah, I knew it was Ian. When I saw it,
I love that dude.
Yeah. One of the managers I worked with at the King of Prussia Theater, her parents were friends with Ian McShane.
Jealous.
So like anytime he showed up in anything, I was like, oh, it's Ian McShane. Oh, it's Ian McShane.
Look at that.
But the thing that kind of made me laugh this time around, I don't know if I noticed it the first time, but like when she makes the deal with Other Mother to find the eyes of the ghost kids and then her parents, it kind of feels like a video game in that the ghost characters are like NPCs where they're just they find an eye and she's like, bless you, miss, but you have to find two more. It felt very video game like when that came.
Thank you for this main quest that you just completed.
Yes.
There's two more that you need to grasp.
You found all our eyes, but there's still your parents to find.
You just earned XP.
Yeah, it felt very video game like.
Yeah, it did.
And I don't know if this was made into a video game, but it'd probably be a dope at least a short video game.
I was thinking that when I was watching like towards the end. I'm like, this would be a great. I don't know either, but this would be a fantastic video game.
Yeah, at least like a short play. I don't know what you call a short video game, but
yeah, I mean just a short video game.
A short video game. There you go.
There'd
be no Red Dead Redemption or anything, but yeah, I don't really have too much else to say. It's just a.
Apparently, it was a video game.
Oh, there you go. It's a very well-made film. Of course, Henry Selick is underappreciated just for everything he's done for stop motion animation, and even for Tim Burton's career. Because like Nightmare Before Christmas is one of Tim Burton's most popular things. And Henry Selick actually directed it. Not to knock Tim Burton, he was making Batman when they were making Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's just a shame that he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And I highly suggest people check this out. It's one of my favorite stop motion animation films. It's a great, if you have a kid that you want to introduce to the horror genre, this is a good start, because it's not terribly scary, but it's got horror elements to it.
Which if you're like me and you don't get around to it until you're almost 30, congratulations, you failed. Definitely watch this. For Mike, for instance, for sure, it would be great to watch when you're younger and kind of feel like as a child how this movie goes, and then as an adult when you're a parent finally, and see how it goes. It's kind of crazy that you've got that dynamic, that this movie's old enough to where you can feel that. Not to say you were I was that much of a kid when this came out.
I was 20, I think, when it came out, something like
but
that.
But you were younger. You were closer to your teens than you were technically being an actual adult, I guess.
I was still living with my parents at the time. So.
But just knowing that you had that dynamic is really cool. And I'm jealous. I'm a little jealous of you.
I'm trying to find out when it was released.
2009. The video game came out in January.
Okay, it came out in February, so I was 19 when it came out.
It was weird that the game came out right before the movie.
I feel like they did that back then. They always they released the soundtrack and the video game.
I guess there was a week apart. I think it was late January.
One thing I didn't realize before is Coraline's accent is super Wisconsin.
There's definitely parts where it bleeds through heavy.
Yeah, I don't know because she's not from Wisconsin, I don't think. No, she's
Georgia.
from Georgia, or born in. Well, she's been an actress for a while, so I doubt that she would actually have a Georgian accent as a natural accent. But it's she definitely has the Wisconsin thing. They're supposed to be from Michigan. I don't know if people from Michigan have a similar Wisconsin type accent.
Yeah.
All the people from Michigan I know had a transatlantic accent, which is the American accent if there is one. So I have no idea, but I just noticed it. I can't remember anything she said, but it was just very.
There was one.
Oh
part,
yeah.
There was one part where it bled through really hard.
Yeah,
I can't remember what the exact quote was, but you felt it.
You felt it.
You're like, wow, that's gross.
Just a little fun thing to point out. But yeah, don't have too much else to say. And by that I mean I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, I think again, it's all technical. We were kind of grasping for a lot of things to talk about, but I mean, it's one you kind of experience for yourself. And I was actually, this was in the theaters not too long, a month ago, roughly, and my cousins came to the theater, and they were, I guess, Movie Tavern had it too, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to Movie Tavern to go check it out." I'm like, I've got it here, and I can get you in.
I feel like we keep picking movies that are being shown in theaters, because didn't that happen with Dog Day Afternoon?
Yeah, I think so.
And I feel like it happened with another one recently too.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe that just goes to show, the kind of the sway we have here.
Sway.
but all my little cousins were talking about how great this movie is, and they can't wait to see it in theaters, which was really cool. And just this movie's great. You should check it out. Possibly,
check it
maybe
out.
Not.
Yeah. So that does it for our review for the very first week of the 2023 Spooktacular Spooktober. Fantastic pick, Mike. I'm going to pat myself on the back.
Go ahead and do it.
That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. This was my pick, so I get to say first. It's very hard for me to not want to put every stop motion animation on the shelf. It takes so much work to make one that I feel like they really make sure the script is tight before even starting to make it, which makes them usually pretty good. So I would say, and this is one of the better ones too. So I would say this absolutely goes on the shelf.
Ooh, brave.
Is
brave.
it?
That's a brave boy right there.
Is it?
Yes, it's absolutely 100% going on the shelf. It's just a fantastic film all around. And how dare it even be thought that it wouldn't? How dare?
How dare?
Yeah.
Yes. So Coraline does go on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden, the first film of the KFR 2023 Spooktacular Spooktober.
Yes.
We're 1 for 1 for now. But are we going to be 2 for 2?
Well, it's my pick, so
it is your pick.
Who
Glenn.
knows how it could go.
Glenn, what are we watching?
Yeah. Well, we're going into this dark tunnel, and we'll see how we come out, because I don't know anything about this movie at all. There was no recommendations for it. I just literally came across it. I was kind of looking through all the apps earlier, just kind of searching around the horror sections, the scary sections, the thriller sections, anything Halloween-esque for the Spooktober for you guys and for us. And I was in the Criterion channel, and we all know that's definitely on the higher end of the pluses.
Yes.
But who knows what it could actually be. So it was in Criterion channel. It was also on HBO Max, or Max if you're weird and don't just don't call it that. It's HBO Max.
The people who call it Max also call Twitter X.
Yeah.
So
just
you're stupid.
You know
you're
what it is.
Stupid. It's also the people who pronounce GIF.
Ugh. Yucky. So this movie is going to be called Sisters. It came out in 1972. It's rated R. Hour and a half, roughly. Yeah. A small-time reporter tries to convince the police she saw a murder in the apartment across from hers.
Sisters. They were once one in body, and perhaps one in mind. Danielle and Dominique. One loving, one hating, one innocent, the other... Where does Danielle end and Dominique begin?
Remember.
What the devil hath joined together, let no man cut asunder.
Yes, directed by Brian De Palma, written by Brian De Palma and Luisas Ros. It stars Mob Mentality. Hold on a second. I was thinking of the Halloween movie for a second. Evil dies tonight. Margot Kidder, Jennifer Salt, Charles Durning. Oh man, I haven't heard a Durning last name in a long time since I went to school.
He was in Dog Day Afternoon. What are you talking about?
That doesn't make sense. Okay. William Finley, Lyle Wilson, Bernard Hughes, Dolph Sweet, Mary Davenport. Oh, my screen is just scrolling on its own. Witchcraft. Yes, again, this is just a random movie that kind of came across. No recommendations, no TikToks, no bullshit. Just me searching, reporting back to you about a reporter who saw a crime happen across the street.
It kind of sounds like Rear Window.
It does a little bit, yeah.
And I would be surprised. Man, they don't even. I don't know. I gotta see who wrote Rear Window, because they don't. It is Rear Window, but for some reason they don't have to credit it as Rear Window.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. It is what it is. I'm still looking forward to this because it seems pretty good. Brian De Palma's a great director.
I love Margot Kidder. Anything she's in, I'm just a big fan of.
What's she in?
She's in Superman. She's in Indiana Jones.
Black Christmas, Amityville Horror.
Yep, she's in the stuff, man. She's in the stuff.
Yes.
And she's just absolutely gorgeous and talented, and it just helps. It's definitely going to help for a horror movie, because let's see if she can be a scream queen with the rest of them. Roughly around the same time, too, the 70s.
Yes. So, Sisters on Criterion Channel or HBO Max. That is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_film_review. TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I'm Mike, KFR.
And I'm Glen, KFR.
And that will do it until next week, which is week 2 of the 2023 KFR Spooktacular Spooktober.
Yes.
And we're going to watch something that is Rear Window, but is oddly not talking about Rear Window or crediting Rear Window. So we'll see how close it is to Rear. I might rewatch Rear Window before watching this just to get similarities.
I mean, that would be.
But-
It's a good season to do that.
It is a good season to do that. I remember the first time you watched it, you were alone in your cabin and got spooked.
Yeah, it was fucking scary.
Yeah. So, we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye.